the meeting to order.
It
It is 6:01 p.m. This is the City of Twinsburg Architectural Review Board on December 15th, Thursday. We'll start with the roll call of all members.
Mrs. Frazier?
Here.
Mr. Gillen?
Here.
Mr. Markovitz?
Here.
Mr. Midley?
Here.
Mr. Sharma?
Here.
Tonight we have one case on the agenda. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak who did not have the case on the agenda? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and take the first case. It's case 22-1165 at 8592 Darrell Road. It's Crown Hill Cemetery, a new mausoleum.
The proposed new building is to add inventory for the cemetery. They are out of spaces, so this building is a new use. It would be a new occupancy. We believe it would be a auxiliary structure to the other buildings that are on the campus. We've tried to figure out the best location for it in the cemetery grounds based on availability and open land. If you look at a cemetery, it might look like open land, but sometimes they have ground burials already earmarked for certain areas. So once you start selling them, you can't put a building there. So we've located it where that old house used to be. We think it was the old caretakers of the cemetery's house, but that was the best location for this building.
Yeah, somebody was living in there, renting it, not even that long ago.
Yeah. At one time it was a beautiful building. Unfortunately, I was in it. It wasn't necessarily as habitable as it could have been. And things like
it's
that.
It's an old home.
It was an old home.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like anything else. If you don't maintain it, roof leaks, water gets in, everything starts degrading.
So this new building has a lot of glass and a lot of granite, it looks like?
Yes.
And then you've built this building before?
We are building this building for this client in several different their cemeteries throughout the country.
Right.
Right. It's a smaller building.
So the tiles, that's granite too, or is it just a ceramic?
Do you have a?
Yeah, that's what I looked at.
Yeah, the gray portions are granite, and then there's stone across the front.
Right.
The roof is supposed to have a standing seam metal roof.
Right.
And then the other parts in the columns are the gray parts on the eaves and the rake of the roof. That's synthetic stucco.
Right. Yeah. It actually looks pretty good.
Pardon me?
I'm not a stucco guy.
The colors.
The colors?
The black of the stucco and...
Yeah, it works pretty good together.
Typically with shutters, any crypt is a shutter, that's removable so that you can get the casket in. And then this is what we're proposing as the trim. The client has accepted that. And then the other colors in the rendering will key off of these selections.
So the stuccos really drive it, right? It's not stucco.
I say drive it, and people don't know what drive it is. So you're
ephes is what
ephes.
exterior is.
Ephes,
Some
right.
people don't know what ephes is, so I gotta say synthetic stucco because stucco is a more generic.
So it's pretty close. Like the new building's going to look like this, basically. It's pretty accurate print.
Yeah, they haven't selected the stone in the front for the columns yet, but that's kind of what it's going to be looking like. Neutral colors.
Is this going to look like the existing one that's a couple hundred yards away from it? Or?
No, they want it to look slightly different.
Okay. There's enough of a space between them.
Yes.
If I may interrupt, sir, can you introduce yourself and say who you're with?
I'm sorry. My name's Tim Borges. I'm with Matthews Travolta Mausoleum and Construction. We were hired by the cemetery to come up with this plan as well as the other mausoleum that you were talking previously.
Thank you.
So it looks like y'all are bringing in a new drive off of Darrell Road into it. Is that?
It's not a new drive. We are just repairing what's there.
So there's one, yeah, it's just not used, yes.
That's where the
It's,
house
it's,
was.
it's in really
Yeah,
bad
it got
shape.
demolished this fall.
So we're making improvements to some of the paving leading up to the building. We're adding some parking spots out front, which, there's not a lot of traffic in these facilities. Sadly, when we're gone, our loved ones don't necessarily come and visit us as often as we would probably have liked. But, you know, the traffic, you know, you might, Christmas, people come to visit their loved ones Christmas, around Easter, Memorial Day. Christmas is spread out over several weeks, put trees or flowers or whatnot. Birthdays, they come, you know. But Memorial Day weekend is probably the busiest for any cemetery.
Okay, so the chapel in there is just for sort of private reflection. There's not going to be like a funeral service in that particular chapel?
No.
Okay.
It's more for reflection, and interior crypts sell more for exterior crypts, so they have to provide, unfortunately, it's called inventory in the business. So when you're going to look for a vehicle, the car dealer has different models, different different price points. Exterior is less expensive. Interiors, if you look at, there's a second rendering. Inside, they're going to add glass front niches. They're meant for urns, cremains, and sometimes the cemeteries let the families put memorabilia. If their loved one was into baseball, you know, he caught the ball at some sort of World Series and had it signed, and that was his prized possession. Or flowers, they can put flowers in for their loved one. So this will be the second such building that we've built for this client in the country. We're proposing another one very similar to this in Florida.
And this has nothing to do with, because weren't there plans to the existing ones that are further back, those are sort of falling apart? And
That building, unfortunately, it's more expensive to try to repair it. The one that's proposed there that we designed for them is a replacement. So that building, we've got that.
That's different from
That
this.
one's different.
Okay.
So once we have that building built, they will, and the client is already working on with the local legal authorities, they'll be disentombed and re-entombed in the new building once it's done. They're already working on all the legal things. And once all the bodies are moved over, then and only then will we tear that down.
Okay.
And it'll just be a green space for now, but eventually they may add another building 10, 20 years down the road.
Okay. Yeah, that's initially what I thought this was today, till I saw it was on
Yeah, that was
site
called,
way up
we're calling
front.
that the L-shaped building, and you guys are calling this, I think the city's calling this new mausoleum on the east or something like that. I forget what it's called.
So you went to planning already, right?
Yes, I was here last month for the planning, and they approved it.
Yeah. I mean, I like what I see here.
Yeah.
Are these posts, is that aluminum? Is that what that post is?
No, that would be, it's poured in place concrete, and then we put the synthetic stucco or drive it on there. It's low maintenance,
Yeah, I get it.
low maintenance.
There are bronze rosettes holding these panels. Is it point held? It's like a point held, how is it secured?
The rosettes hold the shutter on, so you back out 2 screws, you remove the shutter, and then you gain access to the crypt space. The casket goes in
From the exterior?
from the exterior, and there's also interior crypts as well.
Okay,
So all of them are removable to get the casket in, and then once a casket is in, they put a closure panel on it, and it's caulked into place, and I don't want to say hermetically
right,
sealed,
but this is weather tight.
Yes.
This isn't,
Yeah.
these aren't just screening panels, these are weather tight
They-
behind.
On these, you know,
These
exterior
panels
outside.
are removable.
Yeah.
They are weather resistant. The panels, once a casket goes in, the closure panel behind this this is, I don't want to say a faux panel.
Right, it's
This
like a
is-
rain screen.
It
Right.
keeps everything out, but once a body is in the crypt, they put this closure panel on it. It's made out of plastic or out of concrete board. And then
Okay.
they caulk it in, and that way nothing can get into that crypt. There's no point in sealing the crypt up until there's a body
Right.
in it, you know.
But the panels are on all of the individual
Crypts,
crypts?
yes.
Okay, and then they remove it? and
They
then
remove it, put
Put
the
it in,
casket
okay.
in, and then they seal it up with.
And then they replace the
Then
granite?
they take the granite and put it on, and again, they use the 2 screws to attach it to the building.
Okay. Will this granite be engraved? Each of these be engraved with names and logos and?
It won't be logos, but
Okay.
they call it memorialization in the cemetery business. And memorialization, they put the name of a person that's in the casket space or in the
Right.
crypt. And so it's a name, it's a plaque that's like this big, it's bronze.
Okay, there won't be colored photographs and things like that, okay.
There will be plaques, though. won't there?
Plaques with
Well,
names.
plaque with
the
the
plaques, no different than your name tags. That's really what it is. You know, a lot of times it's the name, birthday, birth, and date of death.
Have you looked at, I mean, have y'all tested or done anything with the type of plaque and material onto the granite that it's going on? Because I know on the other crypts, and you see them sometimes in the plaques, there's stains, all the stain running down that looks really bad.
Depending
Is
on
that-
what,
And around
bronze does not, steel or sometimes aluminum oxidizes and you see stains. We've bought granite before from some places in China or whatnot, and part of the blade comes off, shavings, and then sometimes they polish it in, and that can stain. But any of the plaques will not prevent any staining. Anything like that.
The vertical stone pillars that we have here?
Yes.
On the rendering, they look like they're flush or they're actually protruding, but on the elevation we have, the heavy line makes it look as though they're recessed slightly. Do you know how that is?
They definitely stand proud. They stand
They
out
do?
just like the rendering, yes.
Okay.
The glass is inset.
No, the glass is inset, definitely, but I'm thinking just those 4 vertical elements.
Yes.
That's what's hard to see. It looks like they're sticking out by a half an inch or an inch.
No,
Which
it's
isn't-
probably
You
3
can see over
inches.
here where you can see right there's a little line that shows a lip, which it's an unusual detail.
Well, the stone column is going to sit proud of the brown trim. The rendering might not necessarily depict that exactly, but yeah.
Typically, the roof would come out slightly over what's supporting it, not the support sticking out underneath the roof.
The columns are not sticking out over the
so
roof.
making sure that's
Whether that's,
They're flush.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The picture looks like it's.
Yeah, it's just, it's hard to tell from there. I don't know if there's
But you
a,
can see here that it sits out in front of it, which makes it look like it's
Yeah.
either a really thin tile just applied to it.
yeah. But these kind of renderings sometimes,
This is mainly for just
you know, how
color,
it's printed.
Okay.
color and
Yeah, we don't have any, I don't think we have anything that would show us that.
There's not a section through there.
So if you look at the elevation, the front elevation, if you have the drawing B200, that's the front elevation. You can see that the columns come up, and then the pitch or the peak of the roof comes out ever so slightly. The
Okay.
stone is inset, then the glass is inset even further.
Well,
Okay.
that's the way it
That's
should be.
good, that's
Okay.
how it should be.
Yeah, it steps down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Right, the line weights on the drawing looked that way, but then the rendering made me question it.
again, I learned CAD 30 years ago, and it's come a long way.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
as
not
far
there
as-
It's hard to understand.
Yeah, I know, these kind of renderings like this, they always kind of,
It's mainly to
Right.
it's
it
hard to really
shows-
tell what's standing out from what with them
Right.
sometimes.
That's why I questioned it. That's good to know. So we have the stone sitting back there.
Now, the crypt faces, the squares or the rectangles on the left and right of the front entrance, they sit flush or just recess slightly from the stone columns. The stone columns sit out a little further,
Okay.
and then the stone butts into it, the crypt and the trim.
Okay.
And then the doors and windows will be aluminum, anodized aluminum. Right now, we're showing it as like a medium or a dark bronze.
Yeah.
But it would be a bronze aluminum.
I'm sorry?
It would be a bronze aluminum.
It would be anodized aluminum.
Anodized.
Like I said,
One of these dark colors similar to the bronze.
Ceramic. Mullions. I think it's nice.
I mean, this is just my thoughts too. I mean, it's a nice looking structure. The thing I would, and this is just me, in my opinion, is that I would like to see the roof actually come out, you know, like on the sides, you've got the sidewalk and it's covered there. I'd almost like to see some sort of covering across all the front crypts, you know, so that, you know, rain's not hitting them directly and you can stand there in the rain maybe if you wanted to go. But I don't know how, I mean, it's not going to affect my vote on it. It's just an opinion.
We've done that, and believe it or not, these roofs, the more you make of them, the more expensive the building gets. So
Right.
The ones on either side, those crypts will sell for a little more than the ones across the front because they're undercover. And then the ones inside sell for more because they're inside.
Right.
So.
Okay. So there's 3 price ranges, I guess, is that? Or
Yeah, and again,
I guess,
like the first level of crypts, the very first level, that's a certain price
whether
point.
you're high or low.
And then you have the head and heart level, which you're here and here. They sell for more, and as you go up, they're less and less expensive.
Yeah.
It's industry standard.
Yeah.
This one here is
Somebody put
6
numbers
crypts
to it.
high. We've done them 8 crypts high, which is, you know, you almost need binoculars to see up to the top crypts. You know, I say that jokingly, but you know, they're pretty tall buildings.
And like,
So, but it's
like a library ladder that slides across so you can put flowers.
Well, yes.
You want to get up to the
They
top.
get harder to access, and I'm not afraid of heights, but I would not be one of the cemetery workers that would have to go up on the casket lift to push a casket in, 8 crypts high. You're up there pretty high.
Yeah.
And the sidewalks around them are all level and handicap accessible for the loved ones, but it's also, they have to be level and accessible because of the handicap or the casket lift that they use. It can't be on, again, you're going up high enough in the air, you want to be on level ground to get things into the crypts. On the inside, it's a different story. You're inside in the protected area.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to
Any other?
approve.
I'll second.
As submitted.
Is there any further discussion?
Good.
Call for a vote.
Mr. Midley,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma,
Yes.
Mr. Gillen,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Fraser.
Yes.
I get another one. You're just gonna leave it here.
I know. I have this little hand here.
All right, next on the agenda, we have the approval of minutes from the December 1st meeting. Those were included in the packets that were delivered to us. Does anyone have comments? Oh, you
missed-
weren't here for that one.
I
You weren't here
missed
for that one.
last.
Okay, so just other John.
But I'm
any
fine.
comments?
Yeah, I'm fine with them.
Okay,
I'll move on them, to approve them.
as submitted.
Yes, as submitted.
I'll second it.
Mr. Medley,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Gillen,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz,
Yes.
Mr. Sharman.
You don't necessarily have to.
I know, I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
But I was told that I didn't have to abstain even if I wasn't
yeah,
here.
I was always told that
You don't
too.
have to abstain, right?
Yeah,
You don't have to.
And you could have listened to the tape, you know, you could have listened to the recording and read the minutes and all of that, so you
I
have
didn't
the
do
right
my
to vote.
homework by recording, so I think being abstained is a safe option.
And
Yeah.
that is a very good option too. And we didn't need your vote in order to pass them either, so that's another thing. You know, if we were missing a lot of people and we needed a vote, either we'd have to wait for another meeting or you'd
Yeah.
have to decide who would vote.
That's what he's good crowd.
Yeah.
mhm.
So, I'd like to welcome our new council representative today.
Thank you. Sorry I was blinded by the sleep I can't. But yes, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
Were you on a different board last year?
I'm also on Jedi in Twin Stays. I continue to be
Currently,
as well.
mhm.
And then I was on Parks and Rec last year.
Okay.
I'm on that again this year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
excited.
Yeah,
And
My
how-
dad was a builder, so I could read blueprints.
Oh, good. Yeah.
you don't always have to be here if you can't make it. You run pretty well.
Maybe, so you could send a representative if you were missing one.
Yeah.
You can always send someone else. That's good to know.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Daisy's said it a few times, and I think we had one instance where we didn't have them.
yeah.
Yeah, we've had some times with
There was, when I first started, and that's years ago, there, sometimes no one showed up for weeks.
No, really?
But you know what I mean, it pretty much runs itself, all the
Right.
criteria is there,
Right.
so,
But I think they're able to, she's able to report back.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's the key thing.
Yeah, you can, you
If
still
there's
come up
interesting
in the,
cases, they may like to know.
yeah. Yeah, some people only came when it was like really interesting cases or important ones. Just so you know,
Which we have every
you're welcome to
meeting,
come
right?
every meeting.
Because I just really want you to.
Yeah.
You don't have.
Oh,
No,
no,
we're
I-
happy to have you here. Yeah, so that'll,
Yeah,
you'll see some of our meetings are quick, other ones are long. I used to estimate for my family based on the number of cases we have. You could see signs usually go more quickly. New buildings, new constructions can be kind of long, but sometimes it's the additions too, that you have to consider what's existing and what the neighborhood is currently. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, sometimes the drawings we get aren't very well put together, and it takes a lot of time to sort of get out of the owner or presenter really what they're trying to do when they get a little hand-drawn sketch and turn it in,
yeah.
which isn't
We
real
do-
clear.
It's nice you get them ahead of time.
Right, that's new this year.
Oh, okay.
That started in January, February this
Oh,
year.
okay.
Before, we would get them when we came in, unless, there were some random cases that would come to us, but it was probably once every couple months we'd get something in the mail. But for the most part, we were doing it all here. So it's made a little bit more homework for us sometimes, but it's made the meetings a little bit faster. Although I think it may have increased the lead time for the applicants, because now they have to have things in
Yeah, a little bit on there, but
a week and a half early, where they used to be able to get things in, I think it's 6 days before the meeting, so.
Sometimes they'd show up that
Pluses and
day.
minuses.
Many years ago when I was on, they'd
Yeah.
show up that day with the drawing.
Show up that day with the
As long as
drawings.
got
Sometimes they show up with
permission.
new drawings. We have the old ones, and they say, we kept working and we updated it, here's what we really want. And we try as much as we can to get people through, whether we make amendments to their drawings, make some changes, or if we approve as they are, we try to get people through if we can. Occasionally, we have to ask someone to revise their drawings and resubmit them, but
Mhm.
that's it.
We haven't had any instances where we have changed their plans and they haven't complied, right? That
that's between the building department.
Yeah.
Once we've signed off on it, they inspect.
Right.
I'm sure there've been many times when,
Yeah,
Not as much as you maybe
not as much as you
Yeah.
think, okay,
yeah.
Because when we do the plan review, we make sure we put that on there,
okay.
so.
Yeah. I don't even remember too many times I went to council on an appeal.
That's very rare,
Yeah,
old school.
old school. I think we're good.
Okay, anything else?
I think it's time to go home.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. It is 6:27.
I'll second.
Mrs. Fraser,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz,
Yes?
Mr. Gillen,
Yes.
Mr. Midley,
Yes?
Mr. Sharma.
Yes.